Hey, what's up? Jason here from Unity3D.college. If you've watched any of my videos before, you've probably heard my keyboard clicking along as we're going through things. And this video is going to be all about the keyboard. My keyboard of choice is the Razer Black Widow Chroma, and I like it not just for those loud clicks, but also for the full RGB support that's there. So when I jump into games that support this thing, I get really cool effects. Like if I'm in Overwatch, healing as Mercy, the whole thing will start to glow yellow. If I start to do damage buffs, it'll start to glow blue, and it'll also show me like what hotkeys are available for the different players. It's just kind of a cool little effect. And a lot of games do this. They just add in different things like health bars, actions that are available, or just some nice feedback in there, or just, like I said, cool little effects as well. So what I wanted to do today was run you through the process of how to get this kind of support into your own Unity games. I'm actually working on a game that I'd like to pull this into, just an MMO project where I thought it'd be kind of cool to show the cooldown times of your abilities, just on the hotbar, and show them kind of refreshing on the keyboard instead of just on the screen. So I built a simple little project that I'm going to run you through and show you how it's all done. Now to get started, you need to grab this little package right here, this color package from GitHub. It's a full C# wrapper or SDK around the Razer Chroma system. So you just grab it, download it, and open that project up. And we're going to do that right now. I've got the project right here. And we need to make a little bit of a change to it. So when you first open it, the target framework is actually going to be set to .NET Framework 3.5. If you're on that, it's not going to work in your Unity project. So you need to do this, just switch it right back to the .NET Unity 3.5 .NET full base class libraries. There we go. I said the whole list. So we switch that over, and then you need to do a build. So for me, that's F6 is the hotkey, but you just go up here and hit build solution. But what we really want, again, is the output of this project right here. This is kind of the core library that's wrapping all the Razer stuff that we need to access. So once that's done, you should be able to just open the folder. Just right click, open folder in Explorer. And then we need to browse into the bin folder. So that's going to be right here. And since I'm in debug mode right now, it's going to be under debug. And I need to take this DLL and drop it into my Unity project. So let's see, I've got that in here right now, and it needs to be in the plugins folder. So you need to create a plugins folder, just drop the DLL in, and you should be good. Once you've done that, you should be able to play. If you can't play, then just double check that you built it with the right output. If you haven't built it with the right output, it's just not going to compile. You're going to get some errors. So here we go. I've got it in there, and I'm playing. You may have noticed that the keyboard also changed. It stopped breathing. That's because I've also added in a simple script right here. So I have this Chroma cooldown script. It's the only thing in my scene. And now we're going to dive into that code and see how this whole thing works so you can set up your own custom system. So open up this Chroma cooldown, and let's start up at the top. You see here that everything is set to a 4-second cooldown. In fact, before I show you the code, why don't I just go in here and show you what it does? I think it might make it a little bit easier to understand. So there we go. We're playing again. You see that the top bar is turning green. W, A, S, and D are yellow. It might be a little bit hard to see that, but they look nice bright yellow here in person. And then if I hit a key, it turns red and then slowly turns back to green. So let's hit it on 2 or 3 or 4. And again, this is meant to simulate like a cooldown on an ability or a spell or whatever it is in your game. So let's dive back into that code now. The way this works, we've got a hard-coded cooldown time right now of just 4 seconds. Again, this is just because it's a sample. In a real project, our cooldown times would be handled by something else that's actually handling gameplay-specific things and just kind of passing this data into this project. Next, we have a dictionary here. So this dictionary is of all of our refresh timers, and it's got a key for the key, kind of confusing there. But this is actually a Razer key. So this is the key for the enum in the package that we pulled in, that DLL. This is not a Unity key. It's a very specific different one, and that's important because we do have to map back and forth between the two. And then we have a float for just the amount of time remaining for that key. So if I hit 5, the time will go up to 4, and then it's going to go back down to 0. So just imagine there will be an entry here for key code 5 set to 4 because that's where our cooldown time is, and you'll see that in a second. And then it's going to slowly go down to 0. So on enable, I'm turning all of these keys red and they're floating into green. That's happening right here. So we're just looping over the key codes from alpha 0 to alpha 9. And if I mouse over them, you see that alpha 0 is number 48 and alpha 9 is 57. So we can just smoothly loop right over those. They're all sequentially in order. This is important because that's not the case for the Razer keys. So if you try to do that on the Razer keys, you're going to run into a little issue. And I'll show you that in a minute. And then as we loop through, I guess, we're calling begin refresh on each of the keys, but notice that we're using .2key. And I'm going to hit F12 on that just to show you what that's doing. So this is an extension method class. Right now it's just in the same file. It's pretty small. And the way it works, if you've never used an extension method class, is you just create a public static class and then some public static methods. And then you use the this keyword here. And what that'll do is make it so that key code essentially adds on this toKey method, but the key code right here is actually the one that we're working on. So that's why I'm able to do key.toKey to get the Razer key. And this should really say like something like to_Razer key or something a little bit different to make it a little more obvious. But you see here that all I'm doing is going in a switch and mapping alpha 1 to D0, alpha 0 to D0, alpha 1 to D1, and so on. And the part I wanted to show you, though, was kind of important, is if you look at like D1, it's 258, D2 is 259, D0 is 267. It's actually at the end. So if you need to loop through these, you actually have to loop from 1 to 0, because 0 is essentially 10, which kind of makes sense the way it is on a keyboard, but it's a little frustrating because it makes it harder to loop through those. And then, yeah, you can see I just defaulted to returning escape right now because I don't care about the other keys and I didn't want to do a whole key mapping system yet. Once that's done, so we on enable, we go through, we begin refreshing all of them. We also call initialize move keys. Now, initialize move keys is, I think, a good example of how you set up these colors nice and simple. So here we just call keyboard.instance. So this is just a nice static thing we can call. And we give it the key code, the Razer key, and then we just set it to a color. But again, I have an extension method that's changing it into the color type that it wants. It doesn't want to use a Unity engine color, so it has its own color right here that we have to give it. So I made this extension method that takes in a Unity engine color as the source, or it adds on to that, and then it returns back out the specific color for the Razer system. So here we're just taking yellow, converting it over to the type of color that it wants. And then that sets them to yellow. I really don't do anything else for the move keys right now. Then in update, what we're doing is looping through each of the key codes. So these are the Unity key codes again. So go from alpha 0 to alpha 9. Remember, they're sequential in the Unity version. Check to see if the player pressed one. And then if they did, we call that begin refresh. Let's dive into begin refresh again. Begin refresh just takes the timer for the key and sets it to the cooldown time. That's it. So again, you wouldn't want to have this logic in your UI system or in your keyboard specific system in a real game. You'd want to have that all like on the ability or some system that's handling abilities or actions or something and passing in those timers and the percent done into a system that would tie into the keyboard. But for here, it totally makes sense because it's a simple demo. Then we loop through all of the keys in this dictionary. So I just get all of the keys in a list and loop through them. We could also just loop through all the entries in the dictionary. It's just a habit of the way I like to code them. And we look to see if the timer is greater than 0. If it is, we just decrement some time from it, time.delta time. So just as time passes, it gets smaller. Then we update the percent refreshed by just dividing the current amount of time remaining by the total time. Since total time's static and shared, it's pretty simple. And then we call update key color. We pass in the key and the percent refreshed. And update key color, you've probably seen this already as I went through things, but it just lerps on a color, a Unity color, from green to red based on the percent. So it'll start off at green at 0 and red at 100. But remember, we're going down, so it's really kind of starting off at 100 or 1, starting at red and then going down to green. And then we set the color to the converted color right here on the key. And that's it. So that's the entirety of what we need to do to make this all work. Now, you could add a lot more functionality to this as well if you just kind of go through the sample project here. So if you look at this color sample project, they've got things on how to do the breathing, how to do ripples, or just about anything that you want. You could do cool things like make it disappear, and then, oh, I stopped playing, so it stopped lighting up. Or I didn't get it focused. There we go. So you can make it like turn black, slowly go up at the last second, start to flash, or like do a wave out from the key as it refreshes. You could do things like a health bar across the numbers or the function keys or wherever you want. Lots of cool, fun stuff that you can do to just kind of add in a little bit of flair to the game, and it's relatively simple. I think you can see in this sample, you could probably spend an hour and have pretty good support for your game on these keyboards. Yeah, and it's just a cool little thing to add in. Anyway, I plan on adding this to some games that I'm working on. If you have questions about it, feel free to drop comments below. Also, if you have any video suggestions, I've got a long list of them that I'm kind of going through, but I'm always open to new suggestions. So just send them in and I'll drop them onto my list and try to hit them as I can. Other than that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with all your friends. Run around and scream about how awesome my videos are and stuff, and yeah, all that fun stuff. Anyway, just mess around. Thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said, play with this thing. Grab one of these keyboards. They are freaking awesome. And have a great day.